So this is really geared towards people who have just recently joined Qube. It's like a startup course, kind of uh, a deck here. And then we started doing this recently and have received very good feedback. And then we like to do three of these. So there is a 201 and a 301 for some more advanced topics. And then we like to leave some time towards the end for question and answers. So typically whatever new people might be facing, like getting money into the app or just onboarding in general, or maybe you're new to budgeting. So all of that can be discussed here. There's a lot of folks from Qube here, and then also just new people like yourself. All right, so I'm Sarib. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Qube, and then my co-presenter today, Kaylee. She is the product designer and all the user customer experience that you guys see. So we don't have dates yet for the 201 and 301, but you will be receiving email invite just like you did for the 101. All right, so today we're going to cover a couple of things. First off is just an introductory app tour, all the screens, how the navigation works, and how we have divided the different sections. And then Qube types. So what was some of the reasoning behind creating the different Qube types, their purpose, and the different use cases? Because for someone completely new, you might be wondering, should I create a goal cube for something, or a bill cube, or a spend cube, and then the nuances between them. And then we have some tips and tricks, which you may or may not know. And then how to make your first purchase. So that's the agenda, and then we'll leave some time for question and answers. So with that, I'll let Kaylee walk you through the app tour.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarib. Thanks for being here. We're just going to go through those things fairly quickly, but feel free to drop questions in the chat, or we can address them along the way or at the end. So I'm just going to go through the main screens on the app and kind of the purpose of each one and what you can find on each one. And then Sarib will dive in a little bit more deep. So first, on the far left, we've got the overview screen, and here you can see your available account balance with the breakdown, what is in the cloud, which is where all your deposits initially come, your bill spending and gold cubes, and then cube lists and refunds, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But you can see those all add up, so you can just see in one place all your account balance. Next, we have bills. So here's all your bill cubes. You can see the total that you have for your bill amounts and the balances. And you can see on this bills home, in each bill cube, you can see the virtual account number and card number that's assigned to each cube. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, as well as the due dates. So a lot of helpful information at a glance on this screen. Next, we have this spending screen, which most of us probably spend the majority of our time on this spending screen. When you open the app, it usually defaults to the screen because we assume you're out shopping. Maybe you're in line for checkout or shopping online. And you open this up and you can see all of your spend cubes right here with each of their balances that they have in each of the cubes. And then we have pacing bars for all of your spending cubes that have budgets assigned to them. So you can kind of pace yourself and see how much left you're able to spend in each cube, along with the total number of cubes and balances. And let me just point this out on the screen. There's a little sort by drop down, which is also on the bill screen as well. So you can sort by alphabetical, most recent used. There's a bunch of different categories. You can manually sort it, so you can put your favorites at the top for easy access. So there's a little pro tip for you. Next, we have the activity screen. And this is just a feed of all your most recent transactions. So you can see those coming in. There's the main transactions, and then you can see a scheduled tab. If you tab over to that, any scheduled transfers that you have will show up there. Another couple things on this screen, you can see if you're on a joint account, you can see the initials of whoever made the purchase. And then like a running balance will show up as well if you're on the detailed view. And then on top, the header, you can see a little eye icon, and this is, you can toggle that on and off if you like just a really clean view that just shows the merchant and the transaction total, or if you have a detailed view on, you can see the initials and the running balance. And then lastly, we have your profile screen, and this will have all of the things related to your account. So you can log out in the top right. You've got your settings there, which you'll have your Cubist settings and things like that. You've got your personal information, your card information. So that will show you, you don't even have to have your physical card with you. You can look up your card number, set your card PIN, report your card as lost or damaged. Any of those things happen there. Your linked bank accounts, view statements, and manage account will both take you to the web. And a link to customer support as well. And then you can copy your account and routing numbers right there. And then if you're on a family plan, which is really cool, you can add a companion, add a kid, and you can view all of those authorized users on your account if you scroll down, and then you can also toggle between views. So I can view my account, and then I can toggle to view my daughter's account, and then go into the rest of the app and view it as if I was her. So that's where all of that will take place. And then lastly, I just wanted to go over money movement within Qube. This is just kind of a little a map to show you how it all works. So as I mentioned earlier, all the deposits go straight to the Qube cloud. So you can set up direct deposit with us and get your paycheck up to 2 days early, which is nice. You can transfer from your other bank. When you're first onboarding, you start with a card deposit, which we'll go over later. So those all go into the cloud. And then you can also transfer back to another bank out of the cloud. But other than that, you take from the cloud and you allocate all of your money into your cubes, your spending, your bills, and your goal cubes. And you can do that on the funding screen that's found on the overview, or you can do it by individual transfers. And then once the money's in your cubes, that's where the magic happens, spending with purpose. So once your money's been assigned a purpose, you can swipe your card at, any merchant physically. You can shop online. Your bill payments can come out of your cubes. And then also you can send instantly to another friend that has a Qube account, which is cool. You just type in their phone number and send them money. And then you can also do a bank transfer out of a Qube. And that little dollar icon with the arrows going around it, that's our move money icon. And you can find that in the top header on any of the main screens. So it's really easy to access, as well as you can also find that icon within different Qube details. So if I go into my grocery Qube and go into my grocery Qube details and then hit that icon, it will pre-populate those options with the groceries Qube in mind. So you'll, whether you're wanting to send to a friend from your groceries Qube or whatever. That's how that works.
All right, so just building on that money movement map, let me go through some of the Qube types. So first up is Qube Cloud, and really it is unallocated money. So it's you could think of it as it's up in the cloud and you don't have access to that money until you give it purpose, as Kaylee said. So that's exactly that's the main thing that's different with Qube and this system. It's more than just a cool app. It's a psychological change because you have to give it a job before you even spend it. So you have to give the dollar a job. And that's what you're doing when you're moving money from the cloud to a Qube. When you move some money to grocery, then you're intentionally saying that you want this money to be spent on grocery. So even if you, for example, you're just a starting budgeter and you haven't set your budget amounts, or you don't know because you've never used a system like this before, so you don't really know how much you spend on groceries or how much you spend on clothes, you can just start creating those categories or cubes, and then dividing your paycheck from the cloud into these. And that's how you can easily start with this new system. And then as you spend time with us month on, you can see your reports and you can kind of see your actual spending habits. And then you can assign those numbers. So the fact that you're moving it somewhere is already giving it purpose before you spend. So cloud is just that. You can keep some money if you want to think about where you want to allocate it to, but you cannot spend it until it is allocated. And then spend cubes. So this is the one that you'll probably interact with the most, because this is supposed to be used every time you're at a checkout, or even when you're shopping online. You're going to be doing it from the spend cubes. So one easy way to access that money. So this list shows you all the cubes, the spend cubes, and then the money that is inside that. Like groceries is 189, restaurants is 140. So if you swipe your card without doing anything in the app, it's going to decline, which is what we call default zero. That's a security feature. So your card, the Qube debit card, is always at a default zero until you decide to spend from a category. So that's the second place. So the first is you decided where you wanted to allocate it. That's the first intentionality that came in. The second time it comes in is right before the purchase. That, okay, you're buying something and you're ready to spend, but where do you want to spend from? Is it groceries, is it restaurants, home improvement, whatever the case might be. And even if you, in quotes, cheat yourself, like you spend out of something else, then you're going to have less in that category. So you're making a choice and a decision at that moment. So how you do that is you just tap that dollar amount and it opens that cube. So if I tap 189, it's going to open the groceries cube. That's how I can spend. And then $189 is now available on that debit card. I cannot exceed that amount. But I can do one transaction, and then it'll open. And there are some cube settings, like time settings, that you can see on the Open Qube menu. So it could be that for the next 30 minutes or one purchase. You could also do it for a time, like you could say keep it open for 2 hours. If you're going from store to store, you don't need to keep opening the cube. So there are some cube close settings that you can play with. So next type that I want to talk about is bill cubes. So bill cubes are different and they work in a different way than spend cubes. And the main reason is that you don't know when the merchant is going to charge you. It's not like you're in a checkout lane like you were, at Walmart for groceries. Netflix or Power, they're going to charge you whenever they run their billing cycle. So essentially, this cube is always open if we use the same terminology as spend cubes. However, it's open to that card number. There's a unique card number on each of these cubes. Like you can see, Netflix has that ending of 7698. So the way it's protected is that nobody has that card number. It's you who decides who you want to give that card number to. So if you only give it to Netflix, then they're the only ones who can charge. So who you give it to has a control in it. The other control is the amount. If you like, you can restrict it to be only or exactly $15.99. So Netflix cannot increase by $1 and try to charge you $16.99. That's a control that you have, which is a setting on the bill queue where you can say exact amount only. The third kind of a control and setting is a pause feature. So if you look to the right, the Netflix subscription Qube details, there's a move money icon, and then there's a pause icon. If you pause that bill, then it's going to deny any charges that are attempted. So you don't even have to really go to the merchant's website to cancel. You could pause it. it would be better if you cancel it in that, but at least you have that control. And then some of the other things you see on this are the bill frequency, how often they charge you, the next due date, the virtual numbers, both account and card, because you could also be using an ACH, and then total lifetime paid. That's a pretty cool number. Sometimes we don't realize how much we have paid a merchant until we see that number. All right, and then the last type, which we just released recently, are goal cubes. So goal cubes, like the name suggests, you're saving for a target amount and most likely also a target date. So this is showing an emergency fund. Some other examples might be like a new car. So you want to save up X amount, for in a year or 2 years for a car or a family vacation. These are all good examples where you would use a goal cube. So how it's different from spend cube slightly is that we don't show it on the screen, so that it's kind of out of sight, out of mind until you build up to that date or an amount. And then you can determine how much you want to contribute every month to reach that goal. The system will also suggest you the monthly amount that you should be doing. So if you've set the amount and date, it can automatically calculate what you should be doing. And then depending on that recommendation, you can either go with that or you can change your date or amount to make sure that that's something you can do. And then when the time comes to spend, so like you were saving for a vacation and now you're going on that vacation, there's a little toggle on the goal cube that says enable spending. And what that does is it'll then appear as a spend cube on your spend screen. And then you use it just like you use a regular spend cube by tapping the dollar. So you have both options. You can turn it on and off as you like. All right, this one is a fun one and could be slightly confusing when you're new, because why would we have something called Cubeless when we're called Cube? So this came out of a necessity where sometimes certain stores or certain areas of the city may not have good network coverage. That's one case, or you're going on a hiking trip, again, like no network coverage, or maybe an emergency where your phone battery dies. Like you want to avoid that situation, because like we talked about, the debit card is default 0, right? So what do you do in that situation? If you don't have access to your phone and the card is not working, then basically you have no access to money. So what you could do, and this is again your choice, whether you prefer the default 0 security or you want to have this little peace of mind in case of an emergency. So what you could do is turn on Cubeless. And there's a setting, if you go to the profile screen and global setting, you can turn on Cubeless from there. And how you turn it on is you can set a limit for a debit card transaction. An example might be $100. So what you're saying is allow up to $100 of transaction, even without opening any cube. So if your limit is 100, then you could go into Walmart as long as it's less than 100 and swipe your card, and it will allow the transaction to go through. So now notice that in this case, we never selected a cube where you wanted it to come from, right? We did not open groceries. So what we do is we will collect those transactions in this section called Cubeless. So in this example, you can see these 5 transactions, they're sitting in Cubeless, but that's fine for some time, but that's not what how we want the system and you to like, that's not a habit we encourage. So we want you to cube it eventually, maybe when you get home, or when you charge your phone or something. So you have to cube it and assign it a home. And let's say if you did use it at Walmart and it was groceries, you could cube it to groceries. And at that point, it's going to deduct that amount from the groceries cube. So you're just kind of doing it a little bit later versus being proactive, but you still have to do that. You can't not cube it. Okay, and then it builds up to that limit of 100. So if you set 100 limit, then you can do you can do multiple transactions, but you can't never exceed the amount of 100. So that's how Qubist works, and again, like it can be helpful in certain situations. Okay, so make your first purchase. This is something that you may have already done, but we have a short video that just explains these 4 onboarding steps. So I'm going to make sure the sound works.
Yeah, and this will be the view that you would see when you very first download the app. And it takes you through a special set of steps.
Welcome, and thanks so much for joining Qube. Let's get you started by completing 4 easy tasks. First, you're going to deposit some money into your account. Next, you're going to set your card PIN. After that, you will add your card to Apple or Google Pay. And last, you'll make your first purchase. Let's begin by depositing some money into your account. You can send $25 into your account immediately by using card deposit. Simply enter an existing debit card to transfer money in. The first deposit is important as it will initiate the shipment of your physical Qube card. Let's set your card PIN. The Qube card is the safest card in the world with our default 0 technology. Go ahead and set your PIN for your card now. Let's add your card to Apple or Google Pay. This allows you to start using Qube even before your physical card arrives. It's faster, easier, and safer. Qube works best with Apple Pay. Let's make your first purchase with Qube. To make a purchase, simply tap a Qube to open it. You'll notice that the Qube is opened by the color menu that appears at the top of the screen. Now, just complete the purchase by swiping your card or using Apple or Google Pay. Once the purchase is complete, the funds are removed from your card and back into their Qube. Easy, simple, and safe.
All right. And then we have some tips and tricks.
Awesome. All right, I'll take it away. So these are just some little tidbits that you may not come across right away, but just helpful to know. So the first one is pre-auths. And I will say, like, this one, at least for me, is pretty rare that you might need to use this, but this would be a use case where you know the exact amount of a purchase, but you're not sure when the merchant's going to charge you. And usually that falls into the bills section, but if it doesn't, you can do a pre-auth from any spend Qube. And you can see, you can pull up the spend home and swipe any Qube to the side, and it will come up with 2 options: either move money, which we talked about earlier, that could let you do a quick transfer to another Qube. And then there's also a spend option. And if you tap on that spend option, a little menu will come up and you can do a pre-authorization right there. And then you just enter the exact amount and confirm that. And then once that charge hits, we'll know that it is assigned to this Qube, and we'll assign it to that Qube and authorize it coming through. And on your activity screen, you can see over there on the left, if you do have any pending pre-auths, it will be right up at the top, so you can cancel any of those or view whatever pre-auths you have set up. The next tip is Amazon purchases. This one's much more common, at least in my household. Amazon is kind of a unique situation because they charge you later when the item ships usually. So, and maybe you make an Amazon order and it has multiple things that will ship at different times. So again, it's kind of tricky to just have your Qube open for a couple of days when maybe you're doing other purchases. So we've created an Amazon Qube that lives in the bills section that's just automatically created for you. And how you access that is you, again, swipe on a spend Qube and hit spend and then Amazon purchase. And you will type in the amount of your total Amazon purchase. And on the back end, we'll automatically transfer that amount to your Amazon Qube. And Amazon will pull the money from that Qube. So as long as the money's in there, it will come out. So right now, Amazon works with your primary card number. So whatever your main card number is what you'll give to Amazon as your payment method. The next one, this one is hot off the press. We just released it, which is really exciting, especially with holiday shopping coming up. So now we have the ability, when a refund comes in, we don't know exactly which purchase it lines up with. And so before it was just coming into the cloud and just added to your, bucket of money in the cloud. But now it will come into a special section on the overview and you'll see it pop up refund in green. And maybe there's one or a couple of transactions in there. And you'll see how much was deposited and from what merchant. And then you can either, you can swipe and hit Qubit, very similar to a cubeless transaction. And you choose which Qube it goes back to. And this can be cool because let's say you are, you bought some clothing from your clothing Qube. And so your clothing balance went down, by $20, but then you decided to return it. Well, now you get a refund for $20 and you can refund it back to the clothing Qube. And that amount that was spent will go back down and that balance will be back in your clothing Qube ready to spend on something else. So that's a really cool feature. We hope that you guys enjoy that. Okay, the next one is monthly reports. These can be accessed on the web app, which if you guys have not tried out is really great. We're slowly building out lots of features on the web. So now it's matching the mobile really well. And we're even adding additional features to the web that the mobile might not even have. And this is one of them. So you can go to your, is it dashboard.qubemoney.com. And you can view your monthly statements and then also these monthly reports. And this will show you each month how many deposits you had, the amount that left your account, so your cash flow, and then the breakdown of each. How much went out of spending cubes, bill cubes, gold cubes, the cloud, cubeless, and then just different graphs that we have in there. You can see each transaction by Qube. It's just really detailed report that's super useful to just kind of see their trend over time. And you can see on this graph on the right that you can see in which categories you went over and by how much. And I think that's it for our tips and tricks today. And 201, again, there's a lot more advanced tools and things, but we'll get into that in another webinar.
All right, so some of the features like this monthly report are included in our premium and family plans. So I wanted to just share some discount codes, especially for this audience today, where you can get 2 months free on either a monthly plan or an annual plan by using these codes. So I'm not sure if there are anyone on basic on the call, but feel free to grab these discount codes, and then you can go into the web app and enter that code, and it'll upgrade you to premium as well as give you the 2 months free. So it's just QM101 M and then QM101A for annual. All right, now is the fun part for our Q&A and some resources also that we have. So we do have a pretty up-to-date and extensive help center with FAQ articles, and we continue to update articles and add new ones. So that's at support.qubemoney.com, and you can read through those. In addition to that, we also have various methods of reaching us. There's a live chat built into the app from the profile screen in business hours that you can just start a chat from, as well as a phone number, a support email, and then just a system status or outage page as well. Okay. So thank you for joining, everyone. And are there any questions, comments?
I have a question. Are you able to repurpose the money
Yeah.
or reassign it?
You mean once you've allocated it to a cube from the cloud?
Right.
Yeah, you can always do an internal transfer between cubes. So again, with that move money icon with the little dollar sign with the arrows around it, you can access that from most screens and just do a quick transfer from cube to cube. Another quick tip is when maybe you're standing in line or about to buy something, when you have a cube open, in the little open cube, the blue and green gradient at the top, there's 3 action items. One's close cube, one's view the card number, and then one has a little plus dollar, and you can quickly add money from another cube. So let's say I'm trying to buy groceries and I just am a few dollars over, but I want to borrow from my eating out cube, or repurpose that money, right? So I can just quickly add a few dollars from my eating out cube. So yes, there's always ways that you can always transfer your money around.
So then are you able to actually put more money in a cube? Because I heard him say something about if you have 189, that's all you can spend. But what if you put more money in there?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so that would be an example that I just shared,
Okay.
that you could spend more than that. You can quickly add more from the cloud or from another cube, and then you're able to spend that. So the great thing about that is that it's proactive. You're just making the decision of where is that money coming from.
Right. But if you set it at 189, it's only going to authorize 189 unless you put more money in there.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you can always repurpose money before spending. There's also another feature where you could have either maybe you were in a hurry, like you made a mistake or something. So it's you actually made it from groceries. You made a purchase, but then you realize actually that it's better suited for like home improvement. So you can actually recube, what we call recubing a purchase. So that's not moving money, it's moving the entire transaction from a cube to another cube. And then what that does is it'll bring the grocery amount back up to 189, and it'll reduce the home improvement. So you can move the transaction as well.
So it'll
Okay,
make
got
it look like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just said, okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, so it'll make it look like that transaction came from the home improvement cube in the first place, which is cool. Yeah, great question. Do we have any other questions before we wrap up? Sounds like we are good for today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Looks like
Thank
it.
you so much for joining this. We will be posting this so you can always reference it back. And if you have any questions, just let us know.